Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. The purpose of this webinar is to provide a broad overview of the grant management at UCA, and we will just start by introducing ourselves. So I will introduce myself first, and then let the panelists introduce themselves. My name is Süheyda Karakaya. I have met with some of you, and the rest knows me through my emails. I joined the SPO team in November 2019. I'm still pretty new, and I'm currently working remotely, and I will be working remotely permanently. So if you need to reach out to me, I'm available by email, by phone, or through a Zoom meeting. Sandy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Sandy Ani, and I am the senior grant accountant, and I work with the federal and the federal pass-through grants. Angela?
Hi, I'm Angela Haney. I work with the state, private, and foundation grants.
Tyra, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Tyra Phillips, and I am in Human Resources. So I am here to answer any questions you might have regarding the hiring of student workers through this process, and that to let you know that those processes are always changing.
Okay. Joy?
Yeah, thank you, Süheyda. I'm Joy Ritchie. I'm the Director of Sponsored Programs, and my real responsibility today is hosting the webinar and managing the tech piece for Süheyda. So I'll be monitoring the chat and the Q&A. You can enter questions into the Q&A box, and only I can see them. And then at the end of the session, we'll go through and answer all those questions. So anyway, good to see you all. I'm so glad we have such good attendance.
Yeah. Again, thanks so much for joining us, and let's go ahead and get started. So I'll just share my screen with you guys. Okay, so can you see my screen? Yes?
Yeah, we can, Süheyda. We can see your navigation bar on the side. You're not quite to presentation mode yet, but we can see your screen.
Okay, that's nice. So let me get started. So today the plan is Sandy and I will be presenting for about 30 to 40 minutes, go over some basic stuff that you need to know. Then we are going to have a Q&A session. So as Joy said, you can either use the Q&A button in the bottom and type up your questions, or you can raise your hand at the end, and then you can talk and ask the questions to any of the panelists. So let's get started with the outline. As I said, the purpose is to talk about the grant management at UCA. I joined the SPO team recently, so there are some changes in the post-award rules. So I will talk about the SPO team, who to contact, who does what, and then I will also talk about changing post-award rules. I will also provide a general overview of what to expect once you have a grant, what happens, like what are the paperwork waiting for you, what are the things that you need to be careful about. I will also touch on very briefly grant management during COVID-19, and then I'm gonna finish my presentation with a big announcement. So I'm sure you are gonna all be very happy about that, so stay tuned. And Sandy today will cover, she's gonna show us how to give your budget on My UCA. She will also talk about allowable expenses, salary certification, cost sharing, and purchasing from grant money. And to take a little break and to make sure you are with us, we have a poll question for you. So the question should pop up in your screen. So please take a time to answer that question. Did everybody answer the question? Okay, here, now I can see the results. So let's see, we have seven PIs who had like 2 grants in the past, and then 25% had 3 to 5, and then 6% had more than 10. Wow, that's great. And we actually have 4 PIs who are very experienced, have like more than 20 grants so far in the past. So that's great. So we have some new PIs and some more experienced PIs with us today. That's a nice mixture. And let's keep going. I think this will be a useful overview for all of us. As I said, we have some new changes. We are going to introduce those, and then a general refresher for those more experienced PIs as well. So this grant life cycle shows the what's going on in the both pre-award and post-award world. So at the very beginning, let's say you have a great idea, but you don't know where to begin with. Like you don't know, we are not sure whether it could be fundable or not. So Josh is our grant writer. You can contact him. He's a great help. He can help you to look for opportunities, what's available out there, how to search for grant opportunities. He can also work with you in your proposal development, writing your draft and making it more professional, more sellable to the grantees. If you give him enough time, ideally 6 weeks before the deadline, he will be a great help to you. So make sure to contact him if you need help in those areas. On the pre-award side, we have Matthew and Susan, who helps the PIs during the proposal submission process. So they're going to help you with your budget development, proposal planning, and submitting it into the CAIUS or any other system. They also help the PIs with contract routing and award acceptance. So once the grant is accepted, and after the grant, there's a division of labor between Susan and Matthew. If you are from the College of Business, College of Education, or College of Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences, Matthew is your contact, so you should contact Matthew. If you are from College of Natural Science and Mathematics or College of Health and Behavioral Sciences, you should contact Susan. And once the grant is accepted and it's officially released, it moves over to the post-award side. On the post-award side, grant accounting and I will be working with you together to help you in the grant management. I won't go over into details because we are going to cover it in a second. And Kim is our IRB specialist. So if your research involves human subjects or animal subjects, or if you have questions about export control, intellectual property rights, make sure to contact Kim in advance, and she will help you with those, getting the necessary approvals. And Jo is our director. She provides leadership to the team, so she oversees all the activities. She also supports the faculty to increase grant application proposals and grant acceptance. So how can I help? So basic purpose of post-award grant management is to make sure we are complying with the rules and regulations. As you can see in this triangle, there are lots of rules and regulations: uniform guidance, agency rules, university policies, specific terms and conditions of the agreement. So I do provide oversight and guidance to the faculty to make sure everything is goes smoothly. Nobody breaks the law, nobody gets in trouble, so there is no question marks or red flags, whatever. So I also collaborate with grant accounting and faculty for a more effective grant management. So what I do is, practically speaking, I sometimes try to speed up the process. I track paperwork a lot. So for example, for the PAFs, if they get lost in the shuffle or if there's a delay, so I reach out to grant accounting or human resources to make sure it gets processed in a timely manner. I also remind the faculty to submit those papers, all the paperwork on time. So the bottom line is, for any post-award issue, I should be your point of contact. So I know I am new. That means I may not know the answers to all of your questions, but I assure you I'm gonna find you the answer if you contact me. I know sometimes it's easier for you to reach out to people that you know or you worked with. So most of the time you grab the phone and call Sandy or Susan or Matthew. and obviously they're more experienced than me. But please reach out to me first, and I will help you to find the answer to your question. We are just trying to decrease the workload for Sandy and for my colleagues as well, so that everything goes more smoothly, more efficiently. I usually respond to emails within a couple of hours, at most 24 hours. So if you don't hear back from me within 24 hours, just make sure you just shoot me another email or call me again. I will get back to you. So let's keep going. This chart shows the post-award rules. So principal investigators are responsible for submitting all the required forms and reports on time. And I know, like, for the faculty, like I was a faculty in the past, I know we want to focus on research. This like paperwork like looks so like an extra thing, but these things need to get done. And the sooner you submit those, the better for all of us. Ideally, like if you can submit, especially your PAFs, 2 weeks before the beginning of semester, that will be great. That will give enough time to the grant accounting and to the HR to process those. Like in other institution, there's a bureaucracy. It takes some time to get all the signatures and to move forward. So, and once the semester begins, everybody gets crazy busy. So like there's a stack of papers that needs to be processed. So if you just go ahead and start sooner, that will be much more easier for all of us. And PIs are also responsible for financial management of the award, both grant accounting, and I am helping you in that process. And here are some of the services that I provide to the PIs. I do send out monthly budget reports. Please, when you receive the email, just take a couple of minutes and like look at your budget carefully. So when I check your budget, I check a couple of things. I look at if you have an open purchase order that needs to be closed, or I look if you have a negative balance that needs a budget transfer, or if you have lots of money and you are getting close to the end of your grant and you haven't spent it yet. That kind of shows poor grant management. So I try to encourage the faculty to make plans and spend the money for the project purpose. I know, for example, with the COVID, everything got upside down, like all the travel was canceled. So we had like literally all the grants had travel money, like, and they were like staying there. So I just said, like, maybe you can move it somewhere else, spend for the project purpose. So I do send reminders like that. I monitor the expenditure. I do help a lot to the faculty in general with all the paperwork, so including student hire, PAFs, budget transfers. So you can either ask your departmental admin to fill out those forms if you are busy or overwhelmed, or you can also reach out to me. I will be happy to help you filling out these forms as well. Especially for the PAFs, I know it's a little tricky, and I know you already received tons of emails from me, so I won't talk much about those, but I know it's tricky. So if you need help, just feel free to reach out to me and ask me your questions about PAFs. I also started to help the faculty with rebudgeting, no-cost extensions, and pre-award spending. So the last 3 were on Susan and Matthew before I started. So recently those things switched to me. So if you need help with those, just shoot me an email and I will be happy to help you. On the grant accounting side, Sandy and Angela helps the faculty in setting up an index number on Banner. They also help with financial reporting, invoicing, approving purchase orders, and award closeout. If your grant has cost shares, Sandy also helps with that one too, and grant accounting takes care of salary certification as well. Let's move on. So let's take another break and have another poll question to make sure you are with us. You're not checking your email or something. So where are you working from today? Let's see. Okay, 53% are working from campus. That's great. So more than half are still on campus, and 47% works from home. I'm working from home, so I'm actually in Georgia right now. So, but it's really cool that UCA handled like back to campus. I think very well so far. The numbers are not are good, so it's not like scary. So, like I think UCA has one of the lowest COVID positivity rates. So that's really nice. I just have a quick question, Joy, for you. Like, Joy. So I lost the little screen, like on the right hand side. I can't see you guys. I don't know. I only see the little Zoom bar here. I think anyway, I just keep going and then maybe try to figure that out. So I can't see my screen.
I think you've gotten out of presentation mode in your PowerPoint. That might have to do with you.
Okay. Okay, let's go back. I see little Zoom bar, but I don't see the people. Maybe anyway, I'll just keep going and then try to figure that out. So okay, let's keep going. We are still learning these Zoom skills anyway. So what happens when you have a new grant? So I'm trying to streamline the process and make it easy and smooth for everybody. So I created a post-award checklist for you, and I'm gonna request a meeting with you once you have a new grant, and I will go over with this checklist with you guys, with the faculty, to make sure we all know the deadlines, we are aware of the requirements, we are all on the same page, and everything goes smoothly. So that will be a Zoom meeting. I will contact you for that one after you receive any award. I also started preparing a post-award summary form for the principal investigators. Like sometimes I heard from the faculty, but whenever they need to submit a form, like they don't know the SPO number or the index number, or you have multiple grants, like everything is located in somewhere else, so you have hard time finding the numbers or information required for those forms. Let me show you the post-award summary form quickly. So this is an example. This actually Dr. Yarberry's post-award summary form. So this form, when I email to you, please keep it in a handy place. You are gonna find all the information that you need, all the numbers, everything, all the budgets in this form. So you can just check this one whenever you are submitting a form and copy paste it from here. I especially made it in a Word document so that it's easy for you to copy paste it. So it will have your SPO number, grant number, CFDA number, the budget periods, information about the funding entity, and information about FNA rate and FNA amount. On the right-hand side of the form, you are gonna see the contact information for PIs, for co-PIs, grant accounting, me, and then here we have the FNA cost recovery distribution. So for transparency, we added this to the form. I recently started adding the deadlines to this form as well to make it easy for you. And I attached all the budgets and salary distribution to this form as well. So when you have a grant, we convert it into a UCA itemized budget with UCA account numbers. So this is how the UCA itemized budget looks like. And then I also added the awarded budget, like originally whatever is granted, whatever the grantee is, like their line items will be different from those. So I added both of them, like for your reference to this form. And at the end, there is a salary distribution. So including GAs or co-PIs, whoever is getting paid from the grant, you are gonna find the information here. So when you need to fill out a PAF, for example, you can just look at the salary distribution here to check who is getting how much and what you need to be putting in the forms. So let's go back to presentation mode. So that's the form that I prepared for you guys. Hopefully you find it useful, you use it. And after you have a new grant, you are gonna also have a training with grant accounting. I assume that will be over Zoom again, given the COVID. And Sandy or Angela will go over what you need to know on their end and train you on certain things. And I also have another resource for you. Like if you click on this link, it will take you to a shared drive on Google. So I created a shared folder on Google Drive, post-award grant management. I have sent you the link for this one for a while ago. If you don't have it, please just shoot me an email and I will share this folder with you. So under the post-award grant management folder, there's a folder for grant accounting. So here, grant accounting put commonly used forms on the grant accounting side that you can check from here. And if you go to the files from post-award specialist from me, so here's the checklist that I was talking about. I'm sure you can't read it now, but you can check those later. So this is the checklist when you have a new grant that we will go over together. I have my wonderful PAF track sheet here. And I also prepared some sample PAFs, a little video about filling out some of PAFs. You can check this one for PAF too, because that's very, very similar. And here I have 3 sample PAFs and some little tricks for you, like when you are filling out your PAFs. And also, please feel free to share those with your admins if they are doing the PAFs or paperwork for you, so they can make use of this as well. And here, there's another folder which has literally all the forms that you can possibly need during the post-award management. So student forms, change order form, gift card purchase, whatever. So you are looking for, if you don't want to spend time like going over UCA web page, all of them are here available. So let's go back. I just wanted to make you aware of those resources one more time. So let's talk briefly about the grant management during COVID-19. I know the world is upside down, like some of us are struggling to work from home, taking care of kids, things like that. But we all like try to be positive, you know, hopefully a vaccine will come out soon and everything will be fine. I encourage you to check your grantee for the updates on COVID. So I put the links for NSF and NIH updates here. So if you just click those, that will take you to their web page. So they continuously update their policies, and some of them provide some relief, like extensions, things like that. And regarding University of Central Arkansas, there was a recent revised COVID statement released on September 2nd. You can reach out to that document by clicking here. And so normally, after the COVID-19, doing face-to-face research on campus was not allowed. So as of September 2nd, you can resume research if your research involves human subjects, like face-to-face research on campus. You can continue to do so, but you have to follow the guidelines. So basically, wear mask, social distance whenever possible, and also you need to screen your participants before beginning your research. So similar to the doctor visit, basically, like you have to ask them if they are showing any COVID symptoms or not. So make sure you read those carefully if you are doing research with human beings on campus. So now it's time to have the breaking news. So when I first started, I know like some of you were complaining about paper forms getting lost or like taking so much time, like inefficiencies. Like I totally agree with you, and I actually talked with Joy about those. So I don't know whether like our complaints like have led to the change or not, or maybe my prayers are heard. But there's a big change coming, and the human resources is switching to DocuSign for all PAFs, undergraduate and graduate student hire. So yay! So I'm sure you will be very happy, and that will solve lots of our problems. So no more paper forms getting lost. So everything will be just much easier for all of us. So maybe Tyra can tell us more like about the exact timing. Last time I checked with Rachel in HR, she told me like it's coming soon, but they don't have a clear timeline yet. They're still trying to convert the forms, like switch to DocuSign, but it's coming soon. And I know that eventually the plan is to launch DocuSign for all the paperwork at UCA, but it will take some time to do so. Like, but at least HR started, so I don't know who will follow, like who will be the next online, but this is coming. This is great. So I thought I'll share this with you, and you will be all very happy. And this is my contact information if you need to reach out to me. That's all I have to say for now until the Q&A session. Now I will hand over to Sandy for her presentation.
Tyra, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Sure.
Fine.
Sure. DocuSign, again, we are in the process of working with that. It's very close. I'm not on that team, so I really don't know an exact date, but it is very, very close. Also, I think, as most of you know, we have introduced into the applicant tracking system the hiring of graduate assistants, and that is going to go into full force. Anyone that is a new graduate assistant, that will happen and will be implemented, that they will be hired through the applicant tracking system, and their paperwork will be collected, the new hire paperwork through the applicant tracking system as well. And that's going to be as of a January 2021 effective date. So you can do it now, and it's up and it's running pretty good so far. So between that and the DocuSign, hopefully, you know, I've always said, we had this discussion earlier this morning, that electronic should make things easier, but it always doesn't. Sometimes it might be better, but it may not necessarily be easier. So be patient with us, please, as we work through our processes to try to get all this behind the scenes and up and running. Any questions?
We will do the quick Q&A at the end. So Sandy, do you want to go ahead and start your presentation?
Yeah, I can start.
Thank you.
Do you have the PowerPoint? Sarveda, you're on mute.
Sandy, do you want me to use, are you going to use my PowerPoint, like my screen? Okay.
Yeah, you can use the same one.
Okay, let me share screen again then. And then keep going. Okay. Here we go. Okay, Sandy, if you just tell me to press the next slide,
Yeah.
I will do it for you.
Okay, thanks, Sarveda. Grant Accounting, we normally hold a post-award financial workshop either in the fall or the spring. And so we will definitely have one in the spring. I'm not sure if we will have one this fall, but I will be sending emails out for that. And so I'm just going to go over some of the things that what I would have, we would present in our workshop that Sarveda said that there had been questions about. So from the beginning, whenever a grant has been awarded, then Sponsored Programs sends us the award letter. And that's when we know that we need to set up an index number. And if you have a cost share account, we would also set up your matching number. And then we would send that to you, your index number, along with reminding you that anybody that needs access to that index will need to complete a banner access form. And I'll also give you a heads up on the PAFs that are needed, even though Sarveda is the one that would help you with the PAFs, but I would include that information in your email. And then if you have a cash match, I would let you know that you need to transfer those funds. It'll either be transferred from Sponsored Programs, which they will initiate, or you'll need to transfer from your department. Whoever's matching the funds will go into this matching index. And when we do have new PIs, we do set up a meeting with them to go over the financial part of a grant, to show you how to navigate self-service and looking up your indexes. Also, if someone were to leave your department, say your administrative assistant, you would also need to submit a remove banner access form to DOT in budget. And I don't think that gets done very often. We just kind of forget about that, but that is something that needs to be done. Sarveda? So we're going to talk about reviewing the budget, and it sounds like a lot of you are seasoned PIs, so this may be very boring to you, but I'm going to go through how to view your budget, and these are the steps that you'll go through. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Finance, and if you've never viewed your grant before, nothing will be checked, but these are the boxes that need to be checked. And then when you go back in next time, they will still be checked. We don't always check the reservations or commitments, because reservations is when it's a requisition, and then once it becomes a PO, it moves over to the encumbrance. But you could check that box. And then commitments is just a total of the encumbrances and the reservations. So really just the first 3 boxes, the first 2 on the right, and then the available balance is the ones that we look at that information. So you'll need to put in your fiscal year and your fiscal period. And 1 is July, 2 is August, and the reason we have 14 periods instead of 12 is that when we close out June 30th, we're still working July and August to close out. So if you only put 1 in that fiscal period, you would only see July. If you put 2, you would see July and August. And so it's important just to go ahead and keep it on 14 so that you don't forget to change it each month whenever the month changes. And so what you're going to do is you're going to put your index in on the right side, and you're going to click Submit Query. And when you do that, that moves those numbers over to the left side. And what an index is, for grants, the index and the fund are the same number. So the index has the fund, the org, and the program all tied together. So you don't have to remember all 3 of those. You can just put the index in. So it's important to remember, especially on your student hiring forms, it asks for your index and your fund, and those numbers are always going to be the same number. Okay, you can go on, Sarveda. All right, so this is what you'll see once you get into your budget in self-service, and anything that's blue you can click on and drill down and get more information. You want to go to the next one? So here we can see that in the instructional supplies that those purchases were made from Fisher Scientific. So there's also under the document code, there's more blue numbers, and you could click on that and you could find out what the check number was that it was paid with. So really the best thing that you could do is to go to a budget workshop. And I think they do have those twice a year as well, at least once a year. And I'm sure they would do one-on-one through Zoom. But they will also walk you through how to view your budget in Native Banner, which is a whole different process. But I work mostly in self-service. So now we're going to talk about allowable costs, and the allowable costs, they have to be reasonable and they have to be allocable. So reasonable means that, you know, for a typical person, a prudent person, would that cost be reasonable? And then allowable or allocable, that means that if you have 2 grants and you're purchasing something that you'd be used for both of those grants, you have to have a way that you can distribute those costs, and it has to be a reasonable method, and because you can't just charge more to one grant because it's got more supplies than the other. Okay, Sarveda. And you need to know, like Sarveda said, that your rules and regulations for your federal, state, and local grants. And also you have to follow the university guidelines. Sometimes people think since they have grant money, they can spend it a little bit differently, but we do have to follow all the same university guidelines for travel and purchases. And allowable costs also need to be adequately documented. And we use, like I said, we use the same policies and procedures for the federal grants as we do the state and the private grants. Now we're going to talk a little bit about salary reports. And one of the questions that Serveda wanted me to address was, why does the salary fringe or F&A line seem to be negative? There could be multiple reasons for that. Whenever you do a PAF and you are splitting that PAF between your department and your grant, when that grant ends, you have to submit another PAF to put your salaries back on the department. If you do not do that, even though you have an end date on the PAF, they will continue charging the grant, even though the grant has ended. So you always have to do that next PAF to put it back on your department. If your department is at that point, say your grant ended on 4/30. So for 5/1 to 5/15, you would need to do another PAF to make sure that the department is only the department's paying for that payroll for that pay period. And then as far as F&A, it just could be a wrong formula because we do it, it's an automatic process. So that would just be something we'd have to look at when we see those negatives. And then the HR does send salary reports after every pay period. So it's really important that you verify that the correct personnel is being paid. And so if there is a discrepancy, you can submit a salary report discrepancy form in HR. And you could also let Grant Accounting know, and we would have to do some possible reallocations of salary. We have a poll question. If you could have one of these superpowers, which one would you choose? Be invisible, summon superhuman strength, converse with animals, read minds, or fly? All right, do you have the answer? All right, looks like talk to animals is the favorite, and to be invisible and fly is in the second. I think I would want to have the superhuman strength. I don't know. All right, next. All right, so purchasing, again, they have their own purchasing workshop, and I'm not an expert in purchasing. So if you do have purchasing questions, I would suggest you call the purchasing office. But I do know a few rules and guidelines. So we're going to talk about some of those, Serveda. So the purchase order, like I said earlier, you'd submit a requisition, and that you would have your grant index and your account number. But before you do your requisition, you always need to make sure that you check in self-service to see if you have the funds in the line that you're wanting to purchase from. And if you don't, you'll need to complete a budget grant budget transfer form. And I know Serveda is that's one of the things she helps you with, is filling out those budget transfer forms. And then we will look, it'll come through our queue to approve and after other people have signed off on it. And so we're going to look again and we're going to make sure that those funds are available before we approve it. And then, like I said, grant POs are just the same as any of the university POs. We have the same guidelines. We do not, for the most part, allow grants to have a P card for that specific grant, but the departments have a P card and you are able to use their card. The reason for this is that when you use a department P card, then you'll send me a P card reallocation form and you'll have the invoice or the invoices attached to it. So at that point, I can approve or disapprove if you were buying something that wasn't allowed in your grant. But if everybody had their own P card, I would never see those invoices. They would all go over to purchasing. And so this is just a way for us to stay in compliance and for me to be able to monitor the spending of the grant. And that P card reallocation form is on our website. And then also for reimbursements, if you do a purchase order to reimburse a faculty member for, if they say they had to, they had to quickly go purchase something at Kroger or Walmart for their grant, you would do the purchase order in their name, but you would send the original receipts to purchasing, but you would need to keep a copy of it and email it to either me or Angela, because we will not approve that PO until we see what was purchased with that from that faculty. And again, that's just for us to help in monitoring the spending of the grant and staying in compliance. Next. All right, so we talked a little bit about cost share and match earlier. A matching index, those words are interchangeable. They would start with the first three numbers of your department, and then it'll have an M for matching, and then we would have two other digits in there. So for example, biology, it would be 362M, and then a couple other digits. And so we set that up so that the matching funds can be moved into that index, and we can monitor all the spending through there, and that will help us when we're doing our financial reporting. And again, you would use a budget transfer to transfer those funds. Next. In-kind contribution. Sometimes you'll have an in-kind match, and an in-kind match would be, say, you have a piece of equipment that you need to use, and it's normally is charged. If anyone else used it, they'd be charged a fee for that, but they're going to waive that fee for you. That would be an example of an in-kind contribution, or even like a meeting room that normally there would be a charge. So we do have a documentation of in-kind cost sharing form that you would complete if there was no money changing hands. It was just a service that was given. And all the grant accounting forms are on the website, and we are housed under accounts payable. So that's where you would go to find grant accounting. We used to be under budget, and then they moved all the accounting together. So we have the financial accounting and grant accounting together under Jeremy Bruner, our controller. Oh, I guess that's it. This is our contact information. Again, I work with the federal and federal pass-through grants, and Angela works with the state, private, and foundation grants.
Thank you very much, Sandy. That was great. So now I think we can move on to the questions.
Yeah, so we've got one question, and then Sabeda, you and I have been in conversation about a question that you received from a PI sort of earlier that we just got an answer to yesterday that I think we should answer today. And I also want to encourage you all, if you have questions you want to ask each other, you know, there's sometimes things that you all are better resources for one another than we are, and we're happy to sort of facilitate this while we've got everybody here. And Sabeda, I hope I'm not stepping on your toes, that we would start with the question that we got about, you know, if I've got a grant funded program, do I have access to what services on the UCA campus do I have access to support my program? And the answer is all the services that your department and your normal UCA programs have access to. It's my understanding, and I got some clarification on this yesterday, that you know, IT and marketing and, you know, all of those sorts of services that we get to tap into as offices here on campus, you know, History Day, the VISTA program, all of those things, you know, all of your programs should be able to access those resources. And it does not matter if your grant has F&A recovery, you're not purchasing access to those sorts of services. You just have them by virtue of being a program on the UCA campus. Another sort of second piece of the question we got from a PI about this is what licenses and subscriptions might be available that might be helpful to people who are running externally funded programs. And this person was specifically asking for help with graphic design. And my answer to this, I think, in Saveda's, is that, like, we just don't know. Like, we're still learning, and this is a place where you all are probably really good resources for each other. I don't know if the university has a Canva license or how you would, you know, tap into something like that. And so the more information, you know, the longer we're here, we'll learn more, and we're happy to share as we, you know, learn those things. But I personally don't know where there's a good list of resources like that. So maybe if you all know, someone could let us know. Okay, so the question that got submitted so far is, when we hire an undergraduate student, the paperwork takes a long time due to problems on the student side, and we will lose part of the semester. So how can we complete the project and specifically spend the money allocated for that student worker in such cases when a student worker is hired, but they don't actually use every pay period because they got started late? So there's money left over in a budget. So what are some strategies for making sure that that money gets spent? I think that's what the question is.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. So my own suggestion would be, like, submit the form sooner. As I said, like, at least 2 to 3 weeks before the beginning of actual work. So it will take time. Like, the HR is receiving tons of documents. Like, there are lots of undergraduate, graduate student hires. So hopefully after, once we switch to DocuSign, it may take less time. So, but I don't know, like, maybe Sandy, Angela, or Tyra can have come up with more suggestions. But, like, how would that work in the past? Like, I don't know, but other than, like, submitting everything sooner and maybe pushing the student to make sure, like, all documents are submitted as well. I think once we have the DocuSign, they can easily see, like, HR can easily see, like, what documents are uploaded. If there's a mistake, they can contact the student to upload it again. So that can speed up the process, hopefully. Tyra, like, do you want to add on this?
I'm going to apologize up front because, you know, I don't do any of the student hiring. So that would be Jeanette. And so I really can't, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. But what I can answer is that being able to hire student workers and collect their paperwork through applicant tracking is going to be a huge change in being able to get things done in a more timely manner. I will say that the contact person, the admin, whomever's collecting the paperwork for that new hire, and I'm sorry, I had somebody walk in and ask me something, so I kind of missed half the question. So if I'm not addressing it properly, let me know. So once the admin collects that paperwork, and they're going to get an email from our records system through applicant tracking to upload that paperwork. And so once that paperwork is uploaded, then if it's not correct, then you will send it back to the student. They'll correct it, send it back to you, and then it'll come back to us for checking to make sure that everything is okay. It's going to speed up this process. and have a lot of the things that are either misplaced or incorrect taken care of. Did I answer that adequately?
Yeah, I think so. And also, just one more suggestion. So if you want to track your like student hire paperwork, just shoot me an email. Like, let's say once the documents are uploaded, like I can call HR or grant accounting to see where they are. That's what I usually do with the PAFs. So try to track it and speed up the process whenever I can. So if something gets lost or something like is like waiting somewhere in somebody's desk, I can call them and try to see like if they can speed up the process. Actually, for this question, I thought we can ask the experienced PIs as well, maybe like how they handle those. Like I know like we have some experienced PIs. If they can raise their hands, we can omit them. If they have any suggestions. Is there anybody willing to jump in?
Well, I've got a couple other questions coming in, and I think one is a follow-up to this question. So it is,
Okay.
can we ask students to be hired to take 1 credit of independent study, for example, so that we can start studies early, but could the tuition be waived, for example, as an incentive? And I don't know the answer to that.
So you can make a student to be hired to take 1 credit.
Can
So
you
I
see
know
the
for-
question, Saveda?
Yeah, I saw the question. I see the question. So is this graduate or undergraduate student? Because for the GAs, if they're international, they have to take at least 9 credit hours. So taking one in like 1 credit won't work. But for undergraduates, I'm not sure. So like I think you are asking about the GAs, right? Like
So the person who asked that question just sent us a note that he's having to sign off. So he's not going to be able to answer your question about his question. So
okay.
yeah, there we go.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, there's one more question. Can a UCA retiree use the sponsored programs office to write a grant, or do they need a research associate title, et cetera, to use UCA resources? I do not know the answer to that question. It has not come up before, and I will find out an answer to that and get that out to everybody who's registered for this. I don't know enough about what the relationship between UCA and retirees is like to feel confident about my answer. So I will look into it and get an answer specifically to the person asking, and I'll share the answer with everybody that's here.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions? I think that's all I see right now. You can also raise your hand. There should be a raise hand button in the bottom if you wanna just talk and ask your question.
I would like to say one more thing, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think I said this already. Be watching for an email in the next month about us implementing this into People Admin. So I will make sure that all of the PIs get this email as well. So we're going to do some training, and it's coming, y'all. So yay, it'll help.
Okay. Okay, if there is no question, I think we can wrap up and finish the webinar. Thank you so much for participating. And we will do a follow-up email, and we are going to get back the answers to your questions if we haven't like already in this webinar. So good to see you all. Thanks so much.